enemies, broken future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. It's Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's June 24th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit of this day in history to get to. Let me get to the hooks for the show here. Show note, no ruckus today. We will have ruckus tomorrow, hopefully. Okay, so what do we got today going on? Ins and outs still of peace negotiations with Iran. We're going to take a look at that. America 250, the Great American State Fair has kicked off, headlined by Donald Trump, because no one else wants to perform at it and be part of Toxic MAGA, except for Kash Patel's girlfriend. I guess there's some other performers there. We'll take a look at all of this insanity going on there in D.C. We've got a bunch of economic news, price gouging at the pump, you think, by Rockefeller oil oligarchs. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to, what else do we got? We got a little public health news, mutant sewer rats on the loose. Very concerning. Bunch of geopolitical news, Epstein news, and they're doing controlled demolition program there in southern Lebanon, and the genocide in Gaza continues, tragically enough. All of that and much more on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. I see a few people coming online. Shout out to those coming online, joining the show now. Okay, let me blast through all of this day in history, and then we'll get to the news. For you, we have quite a bit. Oh, a bunch about, we have a bunch of news too. They're all actors. They're all actors. And so we'll take a look at that as well. On my 5th cup of coffee today, fired up for the show. All right. We go all the way back on this day of June 24th to the year 1322. Aardvarks are expelled from France for the 3rd time on this day, 1322. 1374, this is a crazy one. The fatal dance Manus of medieval Europe. On this day in 1374, we saw a sudden outbreak of St. John's dance, causing people in the streets of Aachen, Germany, to experience hallucinations and begin to jump and twitch uncontrollably until they collapse from exhaustion. Very bizarre story there. 1374 on this day. 1527 on this day. Paracelsus protest. Paracelsus publicly burns standard medical textbooks at the University of Basel as a protest against the current teaching and practice of medicine. That was all the way back 1527. 1648 on this day. Cossacks slaughter 2,000 aardvarks and 600 Polish Catholics in Ukraine. On this day, 1717, we saw the first Freemasons Grand Lodge founded in London, England. On this day, 1731, Freemason and Mayor of Philadelphia, William Allen, is appointed Provincial Grand Master of Pennsylvania, the first and youngest Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. On this day in 1795, we saw the U.S. and U.K. sign the Jay Treaty, the first U.S. extradition treaty. On this day, 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte invades Russia, and that didn't work out so well for him. France is still trying to invade Russia to this day. It's not working out so good for them. We have news from on the War Channel, Fox News. They're bragging about. We have NATO head Root bragging about killing Russians, and so we haven't progressed very far in this fight against Russia. On this day, 1813, we saw the Battle of Beaver Dams. British and native forces defeat U.S. forces, part of the War of 1812. On this day, 1853, on this day in 1853, then U.S. President Franklin Pierce signs the Gadsden Purchase, buying 29,670 square miles from Mexico for $10 million. Now, southern Arizona and southern New Mexico. That was a pretty good deal, I would say. Better than just murdering everybody. On this day in 1861, Tennessee becomes the 11th state and the last state to secede from the Union, part of the American Civil War. On this day, 1889, Butch Cassidy commits his first bank robbery with Warren and two McCarthy brothers at San Miguel Valley Bank. They steal about $21,000, or equivalent today, $735,000. Quite a heist there by Butch Cassidy on this day, 1889. It just shows you the inflation, debasement of our currency, the devaluement of our currency. So in 1889, $21,000 today equals $735,000. Trust the private Federal Reserve. Trust your lying criminal government. They care about the economy and you and I. On this day, 1901, the Aardvark National Fund starts. On this day in 1902, Target Corporation is founded by American businessman George Dayton as Goodfellow Dry Goods in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The very next year, 1903, Russia prohibits meetings dealing with Zionism. They were kind of hip to the game, but apparently not enough there in Russia. 1916, on this day, Mary Pinkford becomes the first female film star to receive $1 million contract. Imagine $1 million contract in 1916. That's a hell of a lot of money. That's a hell of a lot of money. Mary Pickford on this day, 1916. On this day, 1922, Adolf Hitler begins a month-long prison sentence for paramilitary operations. He rails against the aardvark sellouts of Germany to the Bolsheviks. Was he wrong? On this day, 1947, flying saucer sighted over Mount Rainier by pilot Ken Arnold. On this day, 1957, the United States Supreme Court rules that obscenity is not protected by the First Amendment in Roth versus United States. On this day, 1963, we saw the first demonstration of a home video recorder at BBC Studios in London. On this day, 1968, we saw the deadline for redeeming silver certificate dollars for silver bullion. I actually have one of those old silver certificates somewhere laying around here. I've used as a prop for the show before. It has it written in, do I have it right here? Obviously did not, yeah, here it is. Was not able to turn it in. Do I have it here? Maybe I don't have it here. Anyhow, instead of Federal Reserve note, it says silver certificate right here on the top. Here's a dollar bill, but I'll have to find it to show it. But instead of Federal Reserve note, it says silver certificate on the top for those monetary nerds out there in the audience. Anyhow, on this day in 1968 was the last time you could turn in your paper for some silver bullion. And on that note, gold and silver way down today. Everything way down, actually, in the alternative markets, as they say. On this day in 1970, U.S. Senate votes overwhelmingly to repeal the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. The false flag made up attack that literally never happened, that started the Vietnam War. Imagine that. 1992 on this day, mafia boss John Gotti begins life sentence in jail for murder and other crimes. On this day in the year 2020, then New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announces people arriving from 9 states hard hit by the bat problems will have to isolate for 2 weeks. And then on this day in 2024, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange reaches a deal with the U.S., pleads guilty to a criminal charge, and is allowed to go free after 5 years in UK prison. He did another, 6-7 years before that in the Ecuadorian embassy, which was essentially a prison cell there in the UK, fighting U.S. extradition. Okay, on this day, we only had one. I wanted to take a look back at the obscenity not protected by the First Amendment. On this day in our civil liberties history, we go back to the year 1957. Obscenity not protected by the First Amendment, Roth versus United States. The first major Supreme Court decision on obscenity in the court case Roth versus United States held on this day that obscenity was not protected by the First Amendment. The case involves Samuel Roth, a famous literary outlaw who had a long career publishing erotica and was arrested on several occasions. In this case, the Supreme Court upheld his conviction, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. With respect to whether allegedly obscene material was protected by the First Amendment, however, the Roth case was only the beginning. Justice William Brennan's definition of obscenity opened the door to major challenges on several issues. Over the next 15 years, the Supreme Court wrestled with how to apply the, quote, Roth standard to particular cases, and with only some exceptions, steadily increased the boundaries of freedom of expression for sexually related material. Justice Brennan held that only material that was utterly without redeeming social importance could be held obscene. This is pretty obscene. More follow-ups on that big UN report yesterday. Indeed, they are carrying out genocide in Gaza. I mean, how many UN reports academically documented do we need? But they put out another one yesterday. So it's quite literally undeniable. Here's our segue to the news, asking the question, how can society allow this? I think we know. It's kind of in the aardvark blood, just saying.
He was shot by an Israeli military patrol as he was leaving his house. The patrol had been in the area, but at the time, there had been no fighting taking place. He was shot, badly injured, and was lying on the ground. He was surrounded by a company of Israeli soldiers who were chatting and probably some of them smoking over a period of 45 minutes while this 14-year-old boy bled to death. Early in the period, he was able to move a little. He pushed his cap out to indicate that he was still alive and needed attention. A soldier kicked the cap back at him. On another occasion, he was crying out, and again the response was kicking towards him. Later in the period, a soldier came up and dropped a stone next to him, trying to frame this innocent child as a stone thrower, when there is no evidence whatsoever that the child was doing anything more than going out to play. His mother was watching from the house that he'd just left, and as the child sought to leave the house, as the mother sought to leave the house to go to the child to rescue him or attend to him, she was shot at by the Israeli military patrol. There was a Palestinian Red Cross ambulance nearby, and whenever the ambulance tried to approach the scene of the child lying there, a laser-targeted weapon was aimed at the driver of the ambulance, so that the laser was hitting the driver in the middle of the head, and the driver, of course, withdrew in fear of being shot. For 45 minutes, this child bled to death while surrounded by Israeli soldiers who not only showed no concern for him whatsoever, not only did nothing themselves to assist the child, but actively prevented the child's mother from reaching him and the ambulance from assisting him.
Brutal war crimes. Here's a little bit more about the 3 questions. I read out the transcript yesterday, but here's the actual video. 3 questions for these people.
I have 3 questions today for Israeli people. Through this press conference, I want to speak to them directly. What kind of people are your soldiers who would allow a 14-year-old child to bleed to death over a 45-minute period? What kind of people are your military leaders that would inculcate a culture that soldiers feel free to do this, acting with total impunity? What kind of people are your leaders when they give orders, they make statements that encourage this kind of conduct, not merely permit it, but encourage it? I saw a couple of weeks ago that Israeli President Herzog made a statement about some extremist Israeli settlers. He described, and I quote the report of what he said directly, a wave of terrible violence that has been carried out by an anarchist mob, acts that defile and violate every basic moral, legal and Jewish norm. Herzog was speaking about a handful of extremist settlers, and he was right in the way in which he described them. But he should have gone on to describe the key institutions of Israeli society, the government, the Knesset, the political parties, and the military, in exactly the same terms. An anarchist mob committing acts that defile and violate every basic moral, legal, and Jewish norm.
I'm sure that dude will be sanctioned soon. And this is the White House, how to handle panicants 101. Bro, we can't afford freaking groceries out here. And this is the BS coming out of the White House. This is how you handle panicants 101. The Red Scare, the commies are taking over.
Every election's important. We're doing very well. They want a lot of communists to come in. I'm saying it a little bit differently, but the people that they're pushing are communists, and this country is not going to have communists.
We're not going to have communists. We have technocratic fascists. At the end of the day, is there any difference? I highly doubt it. Trump on Mayor Mamdani. Mayor Mamdani pulled through 3 solid communists and has received loud and universal applause from the fake news media. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. I went 16-0 last night, helping to elect wonderful American patriots, and the media doesn't say a word. Over the last 2 years, my endorsement has netted 259 primary wins and almost no losses with zero media attention. Fake news. And what are they all pissed off about? Well, he's all pissed off that some of his AIPAC-backed politicians lost. AIPAC-backed candidates lose New York primaries as voters reject pro-genocide lobby. Progressive candidates in New York secured significant victories last night, defeating pro-Aardvark land incumbents in congressional primaries that marked a huge hit for AIPAC-funded candidates. And so very sad to report there. The progressive communists are taking over as opposed to the fascist AIPAC-backed Zionists. So pick your flavor of tyranny here now. Moving forward to celebrating America 250. Let's watch this propaganda video out of the White House. It's going on right now. They kicked it off. America 250, headlined by Trump. No music. So they've turned our American 250th anniversary celebration of our independence into a MAGA rally. The narcissism of Trump on full display and his toxicity. What are they going to do? They're going to have Patriot games. Kind of sounds like Hunger Games. They're going to have Patriot games on August 9th, they tell us. Mirroring the dystopian Hunger Games there. So it's live right now. The Great American State Fair kickoff celebration with Donald Trump headlining, because they're all actors. They're all faking gay, and this is all bullshit. Here it is. I'm not even I'll post the link at Weaponized News Substack. Here it is, the Great American State Fair. They're live streaming it right now with all these MAGA literal clowns, government propaganda shills, lying scumbags, wrapping themselves in the American flag, saying how patriotic they are, drenched in the blood of genocide. Kash Patel's girlfriend will be performing at Freedom 250 after many other artists rejected the event. They couldn't even get Milli Vanilli to perform there. The literal act that was publicly shunned and shamed for being exposed as lip syncers. Now it's all part of the entertainment. There you go. Alexis Wilkins. Literally all fake, all gay. Trump now refuses to sign a bipartisan bill meant to make home ownership more affordable, increase housing, and ban corporate investors from buying residential homes. They're having a fit still. He had a meeting with Senate Republicans today, or in the last 24 hours. Alleged screaming went on there. Today's House news conference and signing is hereby canceled until such time as we pass the desperately needed Save America Act, which I consider to be a national emergency. Really? From the White House, they say, all voters must show photo ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship. No mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. No men in women's sports, no transgender mutilation surgery on our children. So they're trying to suck you back in to believing in this crime syndicate known as the government. Save America. Really? Why does he have the famous color revolution raised fist right there? You know what I mean? Sending mixed messages. I'm not buying any of it. Your vote don't freaking matter. And if it did, it would be illegal. It's just another excuse to F over the people.
The war is going very well. As you know, we're winning by a lot. Iran is making very big concessions. We'll see what happens, but it's been very, very, very powerful. It's going very, very well.
This asshole started the war. You've got to be kidding me. Here's some more. Trump threatening to blow up Iran again.
All of those factories are opening up soon. It's all jobs. And our job numbers are incredible anyway. I see that...
It's literally fake data, okay? He's a liar, con man, criminal, as is all of the entire government. Republican, Democrat, everybody in between. It's a giant crime syndicate effing us all over that are not part of it. Even if you're part of it, they F you over. We got reports later in the show about how they're effing over disabled veterans as per usual, as per the U.S. federal government.
Oil just broke the $70 number. Who would have thought that was going to happen? And that's during a war. And Iran is being very nice. They're agreeing to everything that I want. And they have to. Otherwise, we just go back and do what we have to do. Thank you very much.
They're not agreeing to everything. He's so full of shit. What does Iran say about this? Well, a big point of contention is the Strait of Hormuz, as we continue to cover here. Trump says, well, I'll put it on the screen here. Iran has informed the U.S. that despite troublemaking fake news reporting to the contrary, there are no tolls, no insurance costs, and no other charges of any kind being sought or received by Iran on ships traveling the Strait of Hormuz. If this is false information, negotiations would end immediately. Additionally, no money has been given to Iran or released from their money to them by the United States. We will be releasing some of their money that is totally controlled by us to our farmers and ranchers for the purchase of GMO, corn, wheat, and soybeans, and more. Food is desperately needed in Iran, and we will be purchasing it from them for them exclusively from the United States. Back to this, attacking Iran with GMOs. They don't want your GMOs. We don't want your GMOs. No one wants your GMOs, but they've been put under U.S. national security because it is a weapon. Make no mistake about it. GMOs and the glyphosate that go along with them are weapons. What's really the kill switch behind all this? Well, as we continue to report, what is self-evident, as long as the Aardvark land keeps massacring the Lebanese, we got a big problem with Iran. Iran has a big problem with that going on and are signing off on it. Allegedly, we said, stop doing that. And what is Aardvark Land Defense Minister response? His response, Mr. Katz's response is, even if there is an American demand, we will not withdraw from Lebanon. 200,000 residents will not return, i.e. ethnic cleansing, i.e. a war crime, i.e. crimes against humanity. So seriously, what America, ask yourself, we already know Aardvark land's gone. They already sold their soul to the devil a long time ago. Where are you at, America? What kind of people are you? You support this? New from Shadow President Bibi. He said Aardvark land will not withdraw from the, quote, security zone, which is land they stole in southern Lebanon. It will not withdraw from security zone it occupies in southern Lebanon as long as he remains in office. Trump wants to give him a pardon, wants Herzog to pardon him, literally the most corrupt man in the world, Bibi, our shadow president. He's facing corruption and bribery charges in Aardvark land. The most corrupt country in the world is charging the most corrupt man in the world with corruption. Imagine that. That's where we're at in all of this insanity and evil. Bibi went on to say, as long as I am prime minister, we will maintain the security zone in southern Lebanon. The greatest achievement of Aardvark land in this war is having overcome fear. We will be the first in the world to solve the problem of explosive drones. He's talking about the drones that Hezbollah is using. We were the target of a horrific attack on October 7th, massacre. Stand down order they gave. They carried out the Hannibal doctrine, chain gunning their own people. Bibi literally created Hamas. But back to his propaganda, he says, we were the target of horrific attack during October 7th massacre when we launched the campaign against Hamas. People told me, Prime Minister, stop. Do not go into Rafah. Today, we control 70% of the Gaza Strip, and we are suffocating Hamas. And those are some quotes out of a report from Haaretz, out of Aardvark land. Because it was the plan the entire time, you see. It was the plan the entire time to go ahead and seize all of that land. Now they've got up to 70%. They're going to push them into the sea. Oh, remember this? Students were arrested for protesting the genocide. Here's a report from Reuters. Here's a report from Reuters from yesterday. Aardvark land authorities and security forces deliberately targeted Palestinian children, resulting in genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes in Gaza, and war crimes in the occupied West Bank. An independent UN inquiry said. And we posted the link to that report, and we'll post it again today at Weaponized News Substack. Aardvark land army will not withdraw from its, quote, security zone in southern Lebanon. They're all saying it. That's Katz again. I think he said it 2-3 different times, different ways. But, yeah, they're all saying it. And so they've stolen that land, kicked off 200,000 Lebanese. I guess they should thank Aardvark land for not killing them at this point. And then all of this back and forth, Trump's empty threats. Here's some from Iran. Baghdadi, foreign minister spokesman. He says the U.S. ruling establishment has never shown any sincerity in its behavior toward the Iranian nation. Iran, while having ample reason for this suspicion, entered the diplomatic process in good faith and signed the memorandum of understanding to end the war, to end the imposed war. Iranians know that the enemy's animosity will not end with the signing of a single agreement, and they will take every step with vigilance, bearing in mind the experience of the past 5 decades, especially the developments of the last year and a half. The contradictory statements by U.S. officials regarding the memorandum of understanding to end the imposed war will do nothing to reduce the accumulated distrust of Iranians, and will merely serve as a reminder of past breaches of faith. The U.S. ruling establishment must bear in mind that the principle of, quote, commitment for commitment requires the fulfillment of reciprocal obligations and the avoidance of interpretations that are entirely at odds with the explicit wording of the Memorandum of Understanding text. Well, that's a major problem right there. Everybody getting on the same page about what the actual definition of words are, because in language over there in Aardvark land, ceasefire means keep on whacking them, bro. So we have a major disconnect on even what the definition of words are at this point in negotiations, all by design. All by design here now. So they can continue on with the massacres and just say, oh, it was a misunderstanding. No, it's no misunderstanding. You're playing semantical lawyer word games, and you're liars. On to public health now. This is pretty hilarious. You got two on Epstein, all up in Epstein files, Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Oz, and then the man covering it up right here, Todd Blanche. But they're fighting healthcare fraudsters in America, let me tell you, while simultaneously covering up the Epstein files. Here's Dr. Oz. You can't afford groceries. Go ahead and get $50 off Eurozimbic at trumprx.gov.
All of us agree with the president and the vice president that the best prescription for a fraudster is prosecution.
If that was true, then they would all walk themselves down to their local FEMA camp and turn themselves in. So obviously, they don't really believe their rhetoric. The rats had their day. They couldn't get the junta rat attack going. So it was announced today that public health scare has been called off. We won the victory against rats. For a minute, HHS successfully concludes junta response effort. Monitoring ends with no positive U.S. case. HHS has successfully concluded its response to the MV rat exposure event. The 42-day monitoring period ended with no positive U.S. cases. We just tweaked the cycle threshold on the PCR test down. Oh, no, they left that part out. Continuing, no individuals remaining under monitoring and no sustained transmission in the United States. Thanks to strong coordination across federal, state, and local partners, Americans were protected every step of the way by rigged up PCR tests. We do appreciate the efforts out of the Department of Health and Human Services. On to the mutant sewer rats spreading through major U.S. cities as scientists discovered disturbing DNA changes. Report out of the Daily Mail. They do love to pump their public health scares there, but this is rather concerning, and it does show the fact that over poisoning of everything. We over poison everything, try to poison the rats, the bats, the bugs, and nature finds a way and evolves, mutates to become resilient to said poisons. Researchers at Rutgers University in New Jersey found the vast majority of smaller house mice and larger brown rats in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. have genetically mutated to become more resilient to poison. So imagine that. You're spraying your rat poison everywhere. You're poisoning yourself, your animals, your children, and the rats are laughing because they've mutated past it. Specifically, 5 out of every 6 rodents tested displayed at least one mutation in the VKORC1 gene, which has been found to affect how well the poison works. This study of nearly 300 house mice and brown rats also confirmed that more than 69% of the rodents carried additional genetic mutations, which previous studies had proven make rodents immune to common exterminator poison. So go ahead and keep spraying that poison. You're poisoning yourself. And the rats are laughing all the way to eat your GMO soy there. So attack of mutant sewer rats is next on the public health scaremonger agenda. We look forward to that after defeating the rats on the cruise ships. Now we look for them in our cities. Continuing here, this was part of the thumbnail because it was part of this post from Cheney Project. If they were on MTV, they are paid CIA actors, central casting, KFAB, a work. Yeah, Theo Vaughn, this guy, comedian, podcaster dude, apparently popular. He's an actor. And then, of course, the all-time classic MTV Studios at the Masonic Temple there in New York. All-time classics. All-time classics because they are all actors. And this is all a Masonic stage play known as American politics. Jimmy Kimmel Show, people in this thread. Jimmy Kimmel Show also filmed out of the Masonic Temple there in Los Angeles. There you go. Freemasonry builds its temples among the nations and in the hearts of men. You can see inscribed in stone on the top there for Jimmy Kimmel Live. And it goes on and on and on. You start looking at these people. Yeah, they have serious questions here. Serious questions. I'm sure they just all made it from. They all made it. Yesterday or a couple days ago was the 5th anniversary of this. Remember this? They leveled that building in Florida 5 years ago. Today, they blew up a condominium complex where John McAfee held his dead man switch, killing 91 people. And then some more posters there. Paulie on the X. IDF team heads to Miami to assist rescue at collapsed building. And then the next day, they whacked John McAfee in that Spanish prison. And then Cheney, Project Cheney, how big of a conspiracy theorist are you? All this talk about ranch dressing is to bury the algorithm on Zorro Ranch. I wonder how much money Epstein had invested in jewelry. Just one ring he had was worth $2.7 to $3.75 million. Jewelry is one of the best ways to hide money, i.e. money laundering. And they're talking about this Epstein email here. Yeah. Indeed. Laundering money through jewelry. Epstein reporting section here now. Here's a little bit more about the fallout here over Epstein.
I do want to turn to the Oversight Committee's Epstein investigation because just within the last hour, the committee released transcripts of its interviews with billionaire Bill Gates and former Jeffrey Epstein assistant Leslie Groff. In Groff's interview, you asked her about phone calls between Epstein and Donald Trump before Trump became president. I'm interested in what she told you about those calls.
Well, as it's clear from the transcript, she made it very clear that she actually did arrange conversations between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we'd known, according to Jeffrey Epstein, that they were close friends. He viewed him as very close to the president. And Ms. Groff made it clear in her testimony that she did connect them multiple times. It could have been meetings. Certainly there were phone calls. And so that is something that was important for us to understand. We have additional questions about that relationship, not just for Ms. Groff, but for other folks in that Epstein orbit. The reality is that she has a lot of information about why she connected so many women with Jeffrey Epstein, and so many victims point to Ms. Groff as someone that was deeply involved in the trafficking and abuse of women.
She said she knew nothing. What was it, almost 20 years as his assistant? Never saw any wrongdoing. I know nothing. Bill Gates said Epstein tried to use knowledge of his affairs to pressure him. And so now we should feel bad for Bill Gates because Epstein attempted to blackmail him. He wasn't part of their dark occultist satanic cult. He wasn't part of it. You see, he knew nothing. No one knows anything. Bill Gates named the 3 women that he had an affair with. He was our doctor during the bad times, but sadly enough, he had these affairs and we had to end our relationship because he was keeping us safe from the bats, but he cheated on his wife, and that was just too much for us here at Weaponized News. So the 3 individuals, 3 women he named: Mila Antonieva, a Russian bridge player. Sounds like a spy to me. Karima Nagmalina, a Russian nuclear scientist, and Dr. Alice Jacobs Nessel Rod. Can't even pronounce their last names, probably all made up. A medical entrepreneur and physician. So we should feel bad for Bill Gates because Epstein was going to blackmail him. That's the new narrative they're pushing out there now. We showed this at the time, but we'll bring it back up again about FBI report they never followed up on, or to New York Police Department about old George Bush, where they say, well, here's the email. Redacted interview of purported Epstein victim. To and from email addresses. You can see they're redacted. Thanks. I didn't realize Bush raped him too. Okay. Redacted. You can see FBI New York. That's who it was. The signature line there. In the report that wasn't followed up on because they knew it was already true, and their job was not to investigate for the victims and stop these crimes. It was to cover up for the criminals. In this report that was never followed up on, I'd like to add a few other points disclosed by the purported victim. While on his yacht, he witnessed African-American males having sex with white blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. He was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut off with a seismometer, but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered their intestines removed and individuals eating the feces from the intestines. He was also raped by George Bush I. And we've come through our investigations to learn they call that goat cheese. Goat cheese for these dark occultist Satanists is the eating of baby intestines. Is their goat cheese is their code word for that. Victim disclosed he was escorted to the FBI building by Michael Moore, who is the creator of True Patriot, described by multiple online sources as a conspiracy-driven news website that attempts to paint the FBI in a bad light. Moore has a criminal record as a result of an FBI investigation, copyright infringement. Oh my gosh. It's just all so dark and sordid. Satanic ritual abuse survivor Mary Knight. Let's hear a little bit from her.
Sells for more if it includes religious symbols. I talk to churches and synagogues and say, I think you need to be really careful who has a key to the building, because these symbols, Jewish, Christian, whatever, the cross, the pulpit, if someone can get in there and make child pornography, it will sell for more money. You need to be careful who has a key. And I was abused in Sunday school classrooms. I was abused on church property. And I have witnessed a child, I believe I witnessed a sibling murdered. Not a sibling, but there was any birth records on. We lived out in the country, and I think they hid a pregnancy. I tell about that in an essay that's going to be my memoir, which is also extremely triggering. And
she says if you can make child porn in a church, you can sell it for more. So think about that at your churches here now. How Jeffrey Epstein's aardvark land network shaped Congo's deadly mineral trade. Leaked documents reveal how military contractors linked to Aardvarkland intelligence secretly trained a special operations strike force in mineral-rich eastern Congo. And so Epstein was part of that. It's part of the contraband trading. Kids, drugs, minerals, you name the contraband, they're in it, trading in it illicitly on the black market as part of being a Rothschild super spy, which Epstein was. They go through in this report talking all about it. Yeah, it's not surprising at all. Epstein had his hand in blood minerals, you can call them, traded out of the Congo on the back of child labor, of course, with the backing of the United States government, UAE, and Aardvarkland. Where are we at here? Let's see. We're on to the economic section. We got 5 minutes. Let's blast through it. Military services, again, are requiring recruits to get the flu miracle as Air Force outbreak grows. They don't care if it doesn't work. It's just all for show. Because there's 100-something cases of flu, allegedly. And they think somehow a miracle is going to help. Well, it's not. All you got to do is look up negative efficacy, i.e. the Cleveland Clinic study, And it just goes on and 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 on about the efficacy of a flu miracle. Nearly 9 in 10 Americans distrust AI. A national survey of 1,200 U.S. adults found 86% are distrustful of AI results, with 42% pointing specifically to AI answers that do not show where their information came from. People reported distrusting unattributed AI search results more than everyday frustrations like medical bills and confusing legal fine print. And 3 in 4 said the internet now feels less human than a decade ago. So all of these people need to be rounded up, obviously, as national security threats. 9 in 10 Americans now need to be go ahead and put in FEMA camps for the Surveillance Center Technocracy Greater North America Project because of these transgressions against AI. Hollywood and big tech are preparing for war. Meta wants to steal TV viewers. Amazon and Apple are meddling with content, and traditional media companies are pursuing mega deals to try and survive. And so it's just pure freaking garbage, man, as they fight to be the top brainwasher mind controller here now. This is a report out of the Hollywood Reporter. Fox has now made a deal to go ahead and acquire Roku. Roku, the streaming platform, fundamentally changes the relationship Fox has with other players in the ecosystem. Despite intense competition from the likes of Google, Amazon, Apple, Roku has asserted itself as the dominant streaming platform, effectively the gateway to television. With Roku in its arsenal, suddenly streaming giants like YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon, not to mention traditional media competitors like Disney and Paramount Warner's, need Fox as a partner. Just as Comcast defined the platform content roll-up for cable TV era, Fox is trying to define it for the streaming era. They're doing massive media. Remember the report years ago? There's 6 companies. We got to follow up on that and see how many it is now. 6 companies control 90% of the media. Remember that? It's even more consolidation now with the Ellisons scooping up a bunch of media companies here now to give us that goy slop we all love and enjoy. All right, let's take our live commercial break now, and then we'll give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. We have a holograph sticker there for Pride Month, all the colors of the rainbow. We have the white background sticker and the clear background sticker there. You can see. Get the stickers at weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a t-shirt, coffee mug, shot glass. This show may induce heavy bouts of drinking, as the audience tells me. We got beanies. It's a summer, right? We got tank tops, I do believe, as well. Men's and women's tank tops at weaponizednews.com/shop. Go over there, take a look. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin, wallet address, Cash App links, all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. Support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, broadcasting live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time. Weaponized News Substack. We're streaming there live now. You'll get the full show, a summary of the show, links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and further research purposes. Become a paid subscriber. Support independent media. The Weaponized News Substack. I do appreciate all of the paid subscribers, the patrons of the store, and donors. We need a whole lot more help out here against $1 Hasbro propaganda campaigns. So it's you out there, Joe Blow American, and everybody else in the world that appreciates independent reporting and analysis, brought to you 5 days a week. Weaponized News. Become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack. All right, friends. Thank you for bearing with me through that commercial message. Weaponizednews.com/shop. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All of that is free for you. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this June 24th, 2026 edition, Wednesday. We got the Great America Fair at America 250 going on right now there in D.C., a bunch of government criminals essentially mocking the independence of this country. At this point, that's what it is amounts to. They've turned America's 250th anniversary of our independence from the tyranny of Great Britain into a MAGA rally, and it's completely and utterly disgusting. Iran war has cost U.S. families $100 billion between increased military funding and higher oil prices, according to Moody's. That's way under what was ours. We were running, I think I still have it up at like $61 billion. Moody's is way out in front of it. And that's probably about what it is. An honest estimate. $100 billion. So Trump can have regime change and keep the Strait of Hormuz open and no nukes. Wait, none of that happened. Khomeini's still in charge. The Strait of Hormuz is still very iffy, and they still have nukes. But you got to pay $100 billion bill so they could blow stuff up in Iran. MAGA America. They're going to nuke us in 2 weeks, bro. Bibi tried to sell that bullshit to the last 40 years. We have a clip of him later in the show saying he's made his life about trying to con America that Iran's going to nuke you. Like, damn, dude. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bissett said Americans need to have an open mind on the inflation impact of the Iran conflict. F you, dude. You're all a pack of war criminals, man. Economic criminals, war criminals. It's just these people have no freaking shame whatsoever. Amazon Prime Day household spending is down 16%, according to Bloomberg report. Citigroup says 6 to 12 months. Price target for gold is $5,000 an ounce. I don't know, man. Let's take a look at the latest here. But man, all of these precious metals took some big hits today. They've been on a downward trend. So yeah, gold right now, right at a cool 4,000. Overseas trading. Silver took a real big hit. It dipped below $60 trading now. Live overseas at $57.42 and fluctuating in live trading there overseas. Bitcoin, it did dip below 60,000. It went back up a little bit. It's at 60,684. The Dow well above, so everything's pumped into this fraud known as the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We still are not able to, investigate any Epstein co-conspirators, with the Dow well above 50,000 at 51,854. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ closed the day down. Little wrap up there on that Citigroup prediction for the price of gold over the next 6 to 12 months at $5,000 an ounce. Voters are losing faith in the Trump economy. Bloomberg headline, you think? No, just keep lying to everybody. I mean, Americans are idiots, right? So, well, there's no inflation. Bro, my freaking hamburger literally costs 40% more than it did 6 months ago. You're panicking. Oh, okay. Screw worms are attacking us. No, the government is the screw worm, screwing us all over. 40% of investors predict a no landing scenario. Bank of America says. You think? Investors who scored 900% win in the 2008 crisis has a new big short bet. Hedge fund manager Lee Robinson notched a 900% gain during the global financial crisis by turning a $20 million position into a $200 million with timely bets against the U.S. subprime mortgage sector. Today, he sees a new opportunity as risks bubble up around private credit, but instead of betting directly against the sector, he's focused on potential second order effects and is shorting some of the $1.8 trillion market's biggest backers, insurers. Robinson is ramping up bearish wagers on firms like Lincoln National Corp to MetLife and even Berkshire Hathaway through the use of credit default swaps, derivative contracts designed to protect investors against a default. His firm, Altana, is launching a new fund into which it is also investing its own capital to protect against what he sees as an inevitable downturn in private credit, a cooling off in AI hype, and the impact of declining liquidity on corporate valuations. And that's a report out of Bloomberg. And so there's more details in there. I will post the full report on Weaponized News Substack. But hey, something to think out there. Not financial advice whatsoever. But Lee Robinson, hedge fund manager, throwing some of his bets out there. Larry Ellison, he went ahead and donated $45 million to Trump, essentially, here now. And he's also, side note, the largest individual contributor to the IDF as well. He's very proud of that fact. Zionist CIA agent there, Larry Ellison, out of Oracle. And so, yeah, he donated. This is a report out of the Wall Street Journal. And so it's pay to play. It's insider dealings like we've never seen before out of the Trump administration. And the next administration is going to be that much worse. Historic healthcare fraud crackdown, more to come. There's a screenshot posted by the White House of the War Channel, Fox News. Oh, $6.5 billion. Yeah, really? That's like 2.5 days of interest on the national debt, to put things in perspective. And I am against all this fraud but these are low-level criminals they're championing as a great crackdown on crime. Look in the mirror, federal government, and take a look at the private central bank cartel, the Federal Reserve, if you really want to crack down on crime. Of course, we know that will never happen. But again, to put it in perspective, this great win against the fraudsters, the FBI and the DOJ are touting, and the HHS are all touting a great win. $6.5 billion crackdown on alleged false medical claims. Again, that's 2.5 days interest on the national debt, to put things into some perspective. It's literally nothing in the grand scheme of things here now. A Trump-linked firm launches lobbying practice to target presidential pardons. Pay for play. MO Strategies, a lobbying firm run by former Donald Trump campaign officials, has launched a practice dedicated to securing presidential pardons. The group recently secured a $500,000 contract from an immigration law firm to navigate the executive clemency process. That's a report out of Clash report, and they go down and detail it a little bit further. But pay for play, in your face corruption. Remember, Trump was selling American citizenship, the gold card. That went over like a lead balloon. Was it $1 million? And you get U.S. citizenship. The Trump administration is seeking $672 million to help, quote, eliminate Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon. And so they're going to keep running this scam, scheme, fraud. Oh my gosh, Iran's going to nuke us in 2 weeks. Give me $672 million. Like, the funding would support the removal or disposal of Iran's enriched uranium and other sensitive nuclear materials, as well as inspections and verification efforts by the International Atomic Energy Agency. The proposal is part of a larger $8 billion supplemental funding request tied to the recent Iran war. That's a report out of the War Channel, Fox News. Oil prices are tumbling, but not the price of gasoline. White House Post, a Bloomberg headline there. Oil prices fall below $75 as more ships cross Hormuz after peace talks. It's a great achievement there by Trump. The Strait of Hormuz was doing fine before he bombed Iran. Trump's finally getting it. He already got it. He knows he's on the inside there with the Rockefeller oil oligarchs. But they've been price gouging us the entire Iran war. The big oil companies are not dropping their price at the pump. Consort with the sharply lower prices they are paying for oil. Those prices are dropping like a rock. In other words, consumers are being gouged. I've instructed the DOJ to immediately start looking into this. Gasoline prices better start going down a lot faster than what I'm seeing. Good cop, bad cop. Trump knows all about it. He's part of the price gouging on us. And the old dollar dominance. They have weaponized the world reserves currency, the U.S. dollar.
Dollar dominance is essential, and everything President Trump is doing here is, if you look, the new Venezuela is invoicing in dollars. They're coming back onto the dollar system. They've been sanctioned. They were not allowed to translate or to transact in dollars, and now the dollar is going to be the centerpiece of their trade. They were selling discounted oil to China and not getting dollars.
So we fully weaponized the dollar against Venezuela now. You will, at the point of a gun, transact in U.S. dollars because we care about freedom and liberation of the Venezuelan people. Here's Trump acting. He's playing good cop here on the price gouging.
So it's ExxonMobil, it's Chevron, it's Shell, it's BP, it's a lot of them. The gasoline or the oil prices have come down so much, and we are not seeing anything at the pump by comparison to what it should be. We should be, in my opinion, at $2.25 right now at the pump. And we're higher than that. And we are doing a big investigation on it, yeah. They're not reducing the prices commensurate with what's happening.
Okay, let's take a look at this. gas prices since the Iran war, the numbers and refinery profits since the U.S. hit Iran on February 28, 2026, drivers have taken a direct hit at the pump. Crude oil spiked on Strait of Hormuz fears, then crashed after the mid-June deal, but relief at the pump has been slow. Here's what the data actually shows. National regular gas pre-war, late February, was around $3 a gallon on average across America. It rose more than $1.10 collectively, peaked near $4.48 in early May. As of today, the national average is $3.93. California, where I'm at, we're especially feeling the pain, is sitting at about $5.56, still the highest in the country. That's real money out of working families' pockets every time they fill their tank. And here's a little graph to illustrate a little bit more there. You can see the sharp spike there. The Rockefeller oil oligarchs taking full advantage of the perceived shortage created by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It literally goes straight up there. You can see in the other years there, not so much. Continuing here. The clearest evidence of excess margins is in refining. The 3-to-1 crack spread, what refiners actually make turning crude into gasoline and diesel, exploded during the war. The normal range, usually $15 to $25 per barrel. During March through May 2026, it surged to $40 to $65 plus per barrel in key benchmarks. That's double or triple normal levels. Refiners reported strong profits and beat estimates while drivers paid more. You can see right here the 3-to-1 crack spread. Diesel, gasoline, 3-to-1 crack spread. You can see right there on the chart. A serious probe wouldn't just issue statements. It would pull actual cost and margin data from big refiners, compare war period crack spreads across historical norms and risk, check for algorithmic pricing coordination, test whether prices stayed higher longer than justified by inventory lags and costs. California already has a petroleum oversight division and profit cap law. It's just never been used. Americans got hit with over $1 more per gallon since the Iran war started. Just some of that was legitimate geopolitical risk. A big chunk looks like classic wartime margin expansion at the refinery level. If we wanted real accountability instead of headlines, we need data and the forensic work, not just political talking points. So, yeah. The Rockefeller oil oligarchs are price gouging us consumers that have to live in their petroleum-based economy at the refinery level through the 3-to-1 crack spread between diesel and gasoline. This is a funny one by Emerald Robinson. Illustrates, as Trump fights against the neocons and rabbis to cut a deal with Iran, it's hilarious and awful to remember that he picked a diabetic big pharma lobbyist, Susie Wiles, right, to stack his administration with neocons and rabbis, i.e., American politics is a Masonic stage play. They're fighting the problem they created. Give me a freaking break. America first. Company owned by Trump donor one, and we reported on this already, but ZBS, I guess is 2 days old. They're a couple days behind. But again, to reiterate, company owned by Trump donor won $1.7 million no bid reflecting pool cleaning contract. And it just speaks to the level of corruption. And they actually gave him a flattering photo here. This character, JJ Cafaro, right? He has others. But even in this photo, he looks like a sometime a comic book villain. Some of his other photos are just beyond ridiculous. This character. But yeah, the federal government awarded a company owned by Trump mega donor a $1.7 million contract to install a new water cleaning system for the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Federal records show as President Trump pushes to overhaul the pool, the struggles with a bout of algae and peeling paint. The no-bid contract to install a, quote, nano bubble filtration system went to Green Water Solutions. Can't make this stuff up, right? An Ohio-based company whose owner is listed on federal contracting documents as JJ Cafaro Investment Trust. And of course, it's this comic book character that got the no-bid contract that failed. Green Water Solutions is also known as Green Water Services. For those looking to do further research on this, we're assured by Trump that a new layer of blue plastic seal coating is down for the reflecting pool and everything will be wonderful once again. So cool your fears about martial law, the fences, the patrol towers, the black helicopters, the men with guns. Pay no attention to that. America 250. Oh, insider contracts. No bid contracts. 2 donors. Pay for play. Pay no attention to that either. And the aforementioned AAA national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline, we are getting effed. And imagine me living here in California, I'm getting double effed in large part by the state of California is the difference there. Environmental fees and other regulatory fees, state taxes, state gas tax are the difference there in the California price compared to the AAA national average for a price of a gallon of gasoline at $3.93, as you can see right there, because we are getting across America gouged at the pump by the Rockefeller oil oligarchs. You better believe it. Well, Watson School of Business got bored over here. Moody's was saying 100 billion. I don't know. They're at $62.3 billion, the total consumer cost burden since the start of the Iran war. I'd like to round up and use Moody's numbers to $100 billion. You know what I mean? So they're at $62.3 billion today. Total consumer cost burden since the beginning of the Iran war, February 28, 2026. And the cost of the 321 crack across both diesel and gasoline per U.S. household is up to $475.46. And I would have to say, according to Moody's numbers, these are conservative estimates. It's a lot higher than that. According to reports from Iran's oil ministry, Shana, Iranian engineers have successfully designed, built, and installed the P4 processing platform at the Rashat Dat oil field located roughly 90 kilometers south of Lebanon Island in the Persian Gulf. Here's the, they say they built it all by themselves with no foreign assistance. Iranian engineers built this oil rig. So we'll probably have to bomb that before too much longer. The entire project was handled domestically inside Iran, utilizing a specialized, quote, float over method to complete the installation without foreign assistance. That's a report out of the Cradle. Dollar's global role in decline amid shifting world order, Kremlin says. Of course, they're going to down talk the dollar, but the Kremlin spokesman Peskov said a growing trend is visible toward a reduced role of U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, arguing that the international economic system is undergoing deep transformation. He made the remarks at the Primakov Readings Forum in Moscow earlier today. He said the foundations of the global economic order are being depreciated, noting that while the dollar still dominates international transactions, its share is gradually falling. He attributed the shift not to countries voluntarily abandoning the currency, but to what he described as attempts by its issuer to impose rules that others reject, i.e., the weaponization of the US dollar at the point of a gun. He added that the world may be in either an early stage of systemic change or already experiencing a breakdown of the existing order, saying clear definitions are needed to understand whether a new global structure is emerging or if the system is descending into disorder. Russia, Ukraine. NATO, they didn't even post the handshake. I was looking for it. They didn't even post anything. Had NATO dudes over here at the White House earlier today, and they're like, yawn. They usually make a big deal about it. The red carpet, the handshake, all this, nothing from the White House that I saw. Anyway, they did post some videos of the meeting there between Trump, his cabinet, and NATO. Root. How do you say his stupid name? Loves bragging about killing Russians on Fox News. All over the place, he loves bragging about killing Russians. But from that little press gaggle there at the White House for all these war criminals, reporter asked, do you think Zelensky is winning right now? Trump said, well, he's doing pretty well. Look, no matter how you look at it, he's doing pretty well. He's holding his own. At least a lot of people dying on both sides. But I think he's doing pretty well. If your goal's depopulation, I guess he's doing well. If your goal is to actually bring about peace, which Trump promised, they'll say Trump never promised it and he was always for a Russia war. No, he promised it during the campaign that he would end the Russia-Ukraine war. We're over a year into his presidency. It's still raging. It's looking like we're going to see a major retaliation by these latest attacks by Ukraine on Russia. And it's going to go on and get even more bloody, tragically enough, in the war. Trump, as you promised. Zelensky today said, I've instructed our intelligence services and military to act preemptively against the facilities that the Russians are using to expand the scale of the war. Right now, the Russian leadership is pulling more air defense systems toward Moscow, Vladai, and Putin's bridge across the Kerch Strait at the expense of air defenses in other areas. And so now he wants to target those areas where he says Ukrainian intelligence say they've decreased defenses. More than 60 Russian regions are already experiencing fuel shortages. They're saying that that big refinery attack with the big explosions is going to keep that refinery offline for like the next 6 months. Russia's pissed. And shooting UK-made long-range weapons via Ukraine into Russia. They're pretty pissed.
Into defense since you took office in 2017. Right. Trump 45 plus Trump 47. A total of extra spent by the Europeans and the Canadians of 1.2 trillion. When you look at the effect of Trump 47, so the isolated effect of the extra defense spending in 2025 and in 2026.
NATO's head showing graphs he uses to impress Trump on live TV. That was the caption for that clip. It would be laughable if it wasn't so serious. They are killing a lot of Russians and Ukrainians. It is extremely tragic. Italy slams NATO claim of 500 U.S. flights from Italian bases during the Iran war. Italy said they don't want no part of it, and Trump keeps trying to drag them into it. Here it is, the War Channel. How are they even allowed to broadcast this obscenity? I guess it's cable airwaves, so we have no say here. But man, here he is again. NATO's Reuter on Fox News bragging they're killing 30,000 to 35,000 Russians a month.
Whether you see an end in sight to the Russia-Ukraine war and what comes next.
Well, let's pray for that, obviously. And what we are seeing is that Ukraine is doing well on the battlefield. They are, as we speak, killing and seriously wounding about between 30 and 35,000 Russians a month. And these are, of course, incredible numbers. And this has a huge impact on Russia. We see the Russian economy doing badly at the moment. The Ukrainian
Moscow oil refinery crippled for 6 months after Ukrainian drone strike damage. Moscow's largest oil refinery will remain offline for at least 6 months following extensive damage from a pair of Ukrainian drone attacks earlier this month. We highlighted the prolonged shutdown severely complicates Kremlin efforts to mitigate nationwide fuel shortages and spiking prices. Clash report, and of course there's the image we showed. The videos were all over the place. I'm literally blowing the lid off of one of the some equipment there at the Moscow refinery. So yeah, Russia's pretty pissed about it, and they haven't done a full-on retaliatory strike for that one yet. Denmark's government is considering a nationwide ban on mosques broadcasting the Islamic call to prayer. Netanyahu, shadow president of America, Bibi says, I devoted most of my entire adult life to preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. Really? I was not prepared to allow a chain of thousands of years of Aardvarkland history to be broken because these Ayatollahs obtained nuclear weapons. That is why I devoted most of my adult life to this cause, also as prime minister. He's been trying to sell to America the whole con job. Iran's going to nuke us in 2 weeks for the past 40 years. and Trump's the only fool that bought it. So I guess that is a great achievement by Shadow President Bibi. He finally found a fool that would attack Iran for his hoax nuke claims. He went on to say, we established the National AI Directorate in the Prime Minister's office and put one of the country's top professionals in charge. This team is working with the biggest players in the field. NVIDIA, you've heard of it, a small company, but it has major presence in aardvark land. The whole world is chasing them. He went on to say, as reported earlier, as long as I am Prime Minister, we will maintain the security zone in southern Lebanon, i.e. the land they already stole, the Greater Aardvark Land Project, ethnic cleansing, crimes against humanity, 200,000 plus Lebanese. We just stole all your land, bro. You come back, we shoot you in the face because security zone. More from Bibi. He says, security is not achieved through words. Security is achieved through strength and determination. According to one simple rule, our ancestors knew it. If someone comes to kill you, rise up and kill them first, i.e. the kill them first doctrine. Preemptive strikes, hoax, weapons of mass destruction. We know the routine. And if that doesn't work, pull a false flag attack, blame your enemy, and then cause a giant war. He went on to say, and it's in his language, or I would play the clips for you. So I'll just read you the transcript readout here. Bibi went on to say here, they told me don't enter Rafah. Do you know why they said that? Because the president of the United States said he would stop supplying weapons. I said, I respect him very much. He stood with us at the beginning of the war, but we have no choice. We will enter, and if necessary, we will fight with our fingernails. That was old Genocide Joe. For those that can remember that far back, I know having a memory is a big conspiracy theory, but your big Democrat, Joe Biden, along with your big Republican, Donald Trump, two wings on the same bird of tyranny working together to genocide the Palestinians in Gaza. There's literally no difference between these war criminal administrations. Bibi went on to say, they told us not to enter Syria. Yeah, bro, because you can't go around stealing everybody's land. It's going to piss everybody off. They don't care. They said it wasn't wise. They said it wasn't justified. We went in with full force. It wasn't justified, and it wasn't wise. They've stolen now part of Syria as well. Let's remind everybody about that report from yesterday. UN inquiry. To put it up there on the screen. A UN inquiry says Aardvark land is committing genocide in Gaza. Is the world even listening? No, they're not, actually. No, they're not. Here's that big report. I'll post it again at Weaponized News Substack. The essence of childhood has been destroyed. Aardvark land's deliberate targeting of Palestinian children in the occupied Palestinian territory since October 7, 2023. 94-page report here out of the antiseptics at the UN, of course. Sexual and gender-based violence against children, torture, and other inhumane acts. Like, you literally can't even make this stuff up. I should have got there already. Let me go to page 64 here. Page 64 in this document. We'll take a look. Torture and other inhumane acts. The commission identified a pattern of severe and deliberate mistreatment systemically inflicted upon Palestinian children, particularly boys, while detained by Aardvark Land security forces, the Aardvark Land prison services. The mistreatment included forced stripping to their underwear, constituting gender degradation, prolonged blindfolding to induce disorientation and vulnerability, prolonged forced kneeling on gravel or asphalt or other hard and sharp surfaces, causing pain, lacerations, and abrasions, severe beatings and kicks, deliberately targeting vulnerable areas, including the head, face, torso, genitals, and extremities, terrorizing with dogs, being detained with adult male detainees in small cells, and being subjected to detrimental, inhumane detention conditions such as deprivation of food and water, unsanitary and overcrowded cells, prolonged sleep deprivation, exposure to extreme temperatures, and systematic denial of medical care despite evident injuries or illness. And it goes on. And it goes on. The sexual and gender-based violence against children. I don't even want to read this stuff, man. I'm not going to read it. It's in the report, and it's CIA black site torture, or in this case, Mossad black site torture, which I thought we were against as society as a whole, but not when it comes to Aardvark Land. They're allowed to do the most evil acts imaginable. And I do think they sit around the war room and think and cook up with Ben Gavir and Smotrick and the whole crew. What is the next torture, war crime, evil act we can do to these people? They sit around and brainstorm it and then go out and do it. War crime of torture, and it just goes through the horrific acts here. It's hard to even stomach and imagine what they're doing to, again, their children. Link to the report will be at Weaponized News Substack, 94-page report. For those that can stomach it, go take a look. It's all quite horrific. Continuing here, you're like, but we're still bombing those damn Somalis. Yeah, we are. Antiwar.com reports U.S. Africa Command says it has launched 68 airstrikes in Somalia this year. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. We're what, almost 6 months into this year? And so we've, U.S. African Command has launched at least 68 airstrikes in Somalia this year. The commander told antiwar.com in an email on Tuesday, putting it on track to break the record for annual U.S. airstrikes in the country that the Trump administration set last year at 124. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. We're bombing the hell out of Somalia. It's getting tired, Department of War. We need better memes. You guys can't meme. Meme of the day. This is a recycled one. American lethality. We never lose. We never miss. American lethality is unmatched. Trump is denying claims about the Minab ritualistic blood sacrifice at that girls' school in Iran to kick off this whole war. He denied. Oh, what? No, you knew exactly what you were doing. You cheered it on as a ritualistic blood sacrifice to your evil gods. Be proud of it, Trump. They should just all come out and say it. You know what I mean? Instead of playing all these games. Oh, we're still bombing ISIS in Syria. Western intelligence created, armed, funded, radicalized ISIS. The Muslims that are out to get us. They're all a creation of U.S. intelligence. We got to circle back and kill those radicals now, as CENTCOM is doing. CENTCOM forces kill senior ISIS leader in Syria. This was 5 days ago. They barely posted it today. U.S. Central Command forces conducted an airstrike in northwestern Syria June 19th that resulted in the death of a senior ISIS leader. The precision strike killed Ali Husseini Ali Yalwai and is part of an ongoing U.S. effort to disrupt and eliminate terrorists seeking to attack Americans abroad or the U.S. homeland. CENTCOM forces continue to work alongside regional partners. The best enemy money can buy, an excuse to go ahead and bomb Syria one more time here now, taking out those ISIS terrorists created by Western intelligence. And this back to the racketeering scams of the Department of War, the Golden Dome scam project. Here's what do you do with a drunken Hegseth, Pete Hegseth. Posted this yesterday, late in the day, why I missed it. It's from yesterday. He said, today, the first milestone test of Golden Dome for America, GDA, was a full mission success, and I was honored to witness it firsthand. Cutting-edge directed energy was harnessed, and the dynamic defense autonomous defeat system flawlessly and autonomously cued, targeted, and eliminated a multitude of incoming threats. This test was executed on schedule and dramatically defeated every threat. I watched our elite warfighters integrate with next generation technology to stop incoming drones and cruise missiles dead in their tracks. Traditional primes and emerging primes are competing, collaborating, and winning, delivering on President Trump's priority. This historic milestone was only made possible by the one big, beautiful bill, giving us funding to deliver on the ultimate shield to protect America, the ultimate con job, ultimate insider trading, racketeering operation, the Golden Dome out of the Department of War. Lockheed Martin said, we are developing laser weapon systems in support of Golden Dome for America, ready to defend U.S. and allied forces. Combined with our platform integration expertise, these systems are designed to defeat a growing range of threats to military forces and infrastructure. They care so much. They bleed the red, white, and blue. Not so much when it comes to actually taking care of the soldiers you have destroyed. Wounded soldiers' families accuse Army of downplaying war injuries. ZBS News reports when Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was asked about the toll of the conflict with Iran in March, he told reporters that almost 90% of the 400 plus injured American service members had sustained only minor injuries and had since returned to duty. Now, some of those wounded soldiers tell ZBS News the injuries were far more serious than the official designation provided by the military. Chief Warrant Officer Rodney Behrman's body was riddled with shrapnel in the early hours of the war on March 1st when an Iranian drone slammed into his workstation in Kuwait. Medical records reviewed by ZBS News show he also suffered a concussion, hearing and vision loss, and damage to his lungs. The Army has classified his condition as not seriously injured. The assessment is unacceptable, his wife told ZBS News. Chief Behrman, 57 years old, was one of more than 20 hurt in the deadliest strike of the conflict on American soldiers and the worst attack on American troops since 2021. Yeah, so they're going to say, it was no big deal. And they go through a bunch of these injured servicemen being denied their disability because they weren't seriously injured. They're like, bro, my leg's blowing off. Half my head's blowing off. They're like, not so serious. And so all of this, another schneid of the American soldier again. Well, these lying criminals wrap themselves in the flag. They could give a damn about you U.S. soldiers out there. Thank you for your service. As anybody that knows, man, go talk to a disabled veteran. They'll tell you about how fun it is to deal with the VA and to actually get your disability claims processed. It's damn near impossible. Because they care about the troops. They care about the troops. Aardvarkland negotiators say talks with Beirut, a train wreck, slams U.S.-Iran MOU for including Lebanon. There are peace talks going on between Lebanon and Aardvarkland right now. They literally mean nothing because the Lebanon government is a puppet of America. They're not protecting their people, but they claim they're a sovereign country. And it's these damn Hezbollah terrorists. As far as I could tell, the Hezbollah terrorist militia group are the only ones defending the Lebanese people against Aardvark aggression. New shelling reported in Lebanon. Yeah. It's ongoing there now. There's a ceasefire, but Press TV correspondent reports Aardvarkland artillery shelling the villages, and they go through a bunch of 4 or 5 different villages here in southern Lebanon. A cluster of border communities in southern Lebanon have seen some of the heaviest Aardvarkland strikes and destruction during the war. There's audio. We had some audio from Hadit. That guy's reporting on the ground there. A southern Lebanese war correspondent. We've showed him because he got hit by shrapnel. He continues to report from the ground there in southern Lebanon. Put out this photo. A kid was seriously injured by an Aardvarkland drone or quadricopter dropping grenades on a pickup truck. The kid was taken to the hospital. He underwent surgery. His situation was life-threatening. Aardvarkland forces have launched a new wave of attacks across southern Lebanon as Aardvarkland continues to use the ceasefire to expand its hold on the ground. Hezbollah is expected to respond, according to Press TV. 4 young men were killed in 2 different attacks, a drone strike, some attacks. They're talking about machine gun fire. In this report, it's ongoing. It's a war. There's a ceasefire, bro. They're still whacking and stacking the Lebanese here now. This Lebanese man was killed there in southern Lebanon. Ahmed Asili, killed by an Aardvarkland drone in the last 24 hours. And again, they're systematically targeting public health infrastructure. They're killing doctors, nurses, paramedics, bombing ambulances. Anybody with a Band-Aid, you're a target. Aardvarkland forces are carrying out controlled demolitions in southern Lebanon as we speak here now during the ceasefire. Here's a kind aardvark they cut on channel 14 saying all Arabs and all the leftists should be burned alive, all of them in the middle of the ocean. Do we have English translation? We do have English translation on this. Let's hear this clip from the kind-hearted aardvark.
למי אתה מתכוון להצביע בבחירות הקרובות? רק בן גביר, רק בן גביר ו-14 בשלט. רק בן גביר. הוא יציל לנו את המדינה ואת כל הישמעאלים שיש לנו במדינה ואת כל השמאלנים ואת כל הערוצי התרעלה האלה לשרוף אותם בים.
Imagine that. What kind of psychopath do you have to be campaigning for Ben Gvir? Well, there he is. There is that kind of psychopath. Ghalibaf, Iranian parliamentary spokesman, said a lasting security framework in West Asia cannot be established without a just resolution to the Palestinian issue. Iran's also throwing Palestine into the peace negotiations, as they should. He stressed that the Palestinian people have the right to self-determination through a referendum involving all of Palestine's original inhabitants, whether Muslim, Christian, or Aardvark. Ghalibaf said Iran is prepared to enter into security agreements with Islamic countries, particularly states bordering the Persian Gulf, supported by sustainable economic cooperation. He added that Tel Aviv views the region's future through interaction rather than conflict, coexistence rather than destruction, and locally driven collective security rather than externally imposed security arrangements. He also said that Iran is ready to expand cooperation with all Islamic countries on the basis of mutual respect, non-interference, good neighborly relations, and shared interests while supporting initiatives aimed at creating joint economic, trade, financial, scientific, and collective security mechanisms. Aardvark land officials revive failed plans to expel Palestinians from Gaza. Senior Aardvark land security officials met yesterday to discuss the possibility of expelling Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, despite a consistent track record of failed attempts to advance the policy, according to Haaretz National Security Chief Ben Ezra convened the urgent meeting with representatives from Aardvark Land Army, Shin Bet, and Mossad to address what Aardvark Land terms encouraging voluntary immigration. They literally put a gun to your head and they say, leave or die. What's the problem? It's voluntary immigration. You know what? What's the problem, guys? As the genocide continues, they're getting ready to go hard into Gaza and clean up the remains as they control 70% per Bibi right now. They're going to take it all. They're going to take it all. Trump's board of peace for Gaza working to crush Palestinian statehood. So there will be no two-state solution. Gaza will be the Trump of the Riviera, right? What happened to Trump's peace board? There's no peace. There's no board. And yeah, they hailed it as a great victory for peace. They're still stacking Palestinian bodies here now. Here's a couple clips from the BBC about this surgeon that was there in Gaza.
On this visit you've just made compared to when you were there before, what is the level of trauma that people have suffered? And how I mean, it seems like such a simple question, but how are people coping and surviving?
I think they just go day by day. So one of my Palestinian colleagues, whilst we were there, on 3 occasions, the car ahead of him was targeted by a missile and blown up. And he was quite shaken on the first occasion because he said 20 meters, that could have been me killed. By the 3rd occasion, he'd become resigned to it and said, well, if it's my time, it's my time. This is the kind of thing that people are facing on a daily basis, even though there's supposed to be a ceasefire.
Is it difficult coming back?
Yes.
How do you feel when you return after what you've experienced and been through? It must be so hard.
I think I feel quite angry that this country, which traditionally has stood for justice and has stood up for the oppressed, has an international reputation for doing that, is letting this genocide go by and doing nothing about it.
UK is a what? Yeah, they're scapegoating the aardvarks all per design here now, letting them go about doing their evil deeds. Thank you, Big Brother, UK, City of London. 3 Palestinians, among them a 12-year-old boy, were killed in continued strikes across Gaza. The latest in a string of strikes, shootings, and demolitions that have broken the ceasefire daily. There is no ceasefire. Even the good doctor there. We had another clip of them. I lost it. Anyhow, yeah. What ceasefire, bro? Where you at, UK Big Brother? Oh, you saw? Oh, this whole thing. Somebody needs to read that doctor in on the bigger geopolitical script about what's going on if he's not an intelligence agent already, which is highly suspect. Gaza's Ministry of Health says that since the October 11th, 2025 ceasefire there in Gaza, 1,027 Palestinians have been killed. It's ongoing there in southern Lebanon and Gaza. Onto the West Bank here now. What they're historically famous for, targeting the water, poisoning the well. Aardvark land settlers attack a Jerusalem district water employee here now. They attack the truck in this video you can see, trying to service the water infrastructure there in the occupied West Bank.
I'm a
Jerusalem's Latin and Greek Orthodox patriarchs visit Gaza amid deepening humanitarian crisis. On Monday, June 22nd, Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem and Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem Cardinal paid a 2-day visit to Gaza aimed at supporting Palestinians facing severe humanitarian conditions amid Aardvark land's war on Gaza. The delegation included humanitarian and health officials, representatives of international relief organizations. During the visit, other healthcare workers. During the visit to a hospital, they assessed conditions at educational and medical institutions. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem said the visit reflects the church's pastoral responsibility toward Gaza's residents amid grave humanitarian suffering, fear, loss, and uncertainty. According to The patriarch, the presence of the two church leaders, carries the prayer of Jerusalem to Gaza's wounded faithful and to all who suffer. Before the war, Gaza's Christian population was estimated at around 1,000 people. Out of the enclave's 2.4 million residents, only several hundred are believed to be alive and remain today. Here's their image of these Christians there. Yeah, they should all be sanctioned because of their anti-Semitic transgressions. Obviously, the escalating threat to Alaska Mosque. We have, come hell or high water, we have to fulfill the fake prophecy, right? Rebuild the third temple there, Solomon's third temple. Zionist extremists weaponize red heifer propaganda. So, report out of the Cradle. In mid-June 2026, extremist Zionist groups announced the birth of a reportedly flawless red heifer in the Galilee, a development they view as a major step toward advancing plans for the construction of a, quote, third temple on the site of the Islamic holy sanctuary, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Unlike previous efforts that relied on red heifers imported from Texas in 2022, the locally born calf is being presented as a breakthrough that strengthens efforts to remove religious obstacles standing in the way of their project. For the first time, a purportedly qualified red heifer, or so they claim, has been born in Galilee itself, a development these groups regard as carrying far greater ideological significance than imported animals. The announcement follows years of preparation by organizations such as the Temple Institute, which has spent decades producing priestly garments, ritual vessels, and architectural plans linked to the temple project. In 2025, these groups conducted public rehearsals of the red heifer ritual in the occupied West Bank while continuing efforts to build support for changing the status quo at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Galilee birth is being promoted as a means of overcoming long-standing restrictions and accelerating plans connected to the temple movement. According to the ritual described in Numbers 19 of the Old Testament, a completely flawless red heifer that has never worn a yoke must be sacrificed and burned with cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet wool added to the fire. Its ashes are then mixed with water to create the purification substance that extremist groups believe is necessary to remove ritual impurity and permit entry into the Al-Aqsa compound. These groups believe completing the ritual would clear the way for large-scale aardvark entry to the site and advance plans connected to the rebuilding of the temple. At the center of the campaign is the stated objective of constructing a third temple in place of an existing Islamic holy site. Extremist groups openly advocate the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, which they view as obstacles to their goal. The Red Heifer Initiative is therefore being used not as an innocent nor isolated religious event, but as part of a broader political and ideological project aimed at ending Muslim sovereignty over Al-Haram al-Sharif and advancing the eventual destruction of Al-Aqsa Mosque. They posted this nice image of the red heifer with a friendly ultra-Zionist there, inspecting the red heifer for flaws. And then here is, via Simon, sent me this one. Report out of Al Jazeera. about the birth of the red heifer in Galilee. It's in Arabic, I believe. So we do have English translation. Let's listen to this report, English subtitles. And we had to go through, translate Malm app to bring you this.
ولادة بقرة حمراء في الجليل خبر قد يبدو عادي للوهلة الأولى، ولكن معهد الهيكل في إسرائيل يصفه بإشارة إلهية مرتبطة بالحرب الدائرة على الجبهة الشمالية. فبحسب ما أعلن المعهد، ولدت هذه البقرة في أحد مزارع إنتاج الحليب في الجليل، ويقول بأنها تطابق بالكامل المواصفات التوراتية المطلوبة لأداء طقوس التطهر. لماذا تحظى بقرة بكل هذا الاهتمام؟ بحسب المعتقدات التي تتبناها ما تسمى بجماعات الهيكل، لا تمثل البقرة الحمراء حيوانا نادرا فحسب، بل تعد شرطا أساسي للتطهر قبل الصعود إلى ما تسميه جبل الهيكل، أي دخول المسجد الأقصى، ومن ثم هدمه لبناء الهيكل الثالث المزعوم. وخلال السنوات الماضية أعلن المعهد أكثر من مرة العثور على بقرات قيل إنها تستوفي الشروط المطلوبة، كما استوردت جماعات الهيكل 5 بقرات حمراء من الولايات المتحدة عام 2022، إلا أن الجدل حول استيفائها للشروط الدينية استمر لاحقا. ولكن السؤال الأهم، كيف تحولت ولادة بقرة إلى حدث يتجاوز البعد الديني ليصل إلى الجدل حول المسجد الأقصى؟ هذا السؤال وغيره أنقله لأستاذ دراسات بيت المقدس الدكتور عبد الله معروف. دكتور عبد الله، أهلا بك دكتور، ونبدأ بأول الأسئلة. ما الذي يجعل هذه البقرة الحمراء بهذه الأهمية لدى جماعات الهيكل؟
هذه البقرة بالنسبة لهم هي الإشارة الإلهية المنتظرة منذ 2000 سنة لعملية ما يسمى بالتطهر من نجاسة الموتى. نجاسة الموتى تعني هي نجاسة من نوع خاص تكون عند لمس الميت، بالتالي وجود مثل هذه البقرة الحمراء يعني أنه يمكن أداء طقس التطهر برمادها، والذي من خلاله يمكن لليهود جميعا بأن يدخلوا إلى المسجد الأقصى المبارك. ونتحدث هنا عن 1,300,000 حريدي يلتزمون بهذه الفتوى. الآن فيما يتعلق بالجماعات المسيحية، لأن هي المسيحية الإيفانجيليكان، هذه الجماعات ترى أن وجود البقرة نفسه هو إشارة لقرب نزول المسيح المنتظر.
طيب دكتور، هذه البقرة التي اعتبروها بأنها رمز ديني، كيف نربطها مع الجدل المستمر حول المسجد الأقصى؟
يعني الخلاف فيما يتعلق بدخول المسجد الأقصى المبارك خلاف قديم بين الجماعات المتطرفة والحاخامية التقليدية. الحاخامية التقليدية لإسرائيل ما زالت حتى الآن تتمسك بفتوى التقليدية القائلة بأنه لا يجوز لأحد من اليهود دخول منطقة المسجد الأقصى. جماعات المعبد المتطرفة أخرجت لنفسها طبعا مجلس سنهدرين أو مجلس كبار حاخامات جديد مكون من عدد من حاخامات الضفة الغربية، وخرجوا خارج هذه الفتوى واتبعوا نظرية جديدة تقول إنهم يد الله العظمى في هذه الأرض وأنهم ينفذون إرادة الرب فقط. وبالتالي هذا الأمر خلق نزاعا داخليا بين الجماعات الدينية في إسرائيل.
هذا يدفعني للسؤال عما نتوقعه في الفترة القادمة أن يحدث داخل إسرائيل بعد ولادة وتحديد هذه البقرة.
الفلاح التي ولدت عنده هذه البقرة قام بثقب أذنها، وهذا الكلام يعني حسب الشريعة اليهودية أنها لم تعد صالحة. لذلك الآن هناك اجتماع يعني تم بين عدد من حاخامات التابعين فعليا للحاخامية الرسمية لمراقبة الثقب الذي في أذن هذه البقرة ومراقبة جميع الشعارات الخاصة بها، بحيث يعني يتأكدون أن هذا الثقب سيلتئم وحده ثم بعد ذلك سيستمر شعرها كله بالبقاء باللون الأحمر. وفيما لو افترضنا أن هذا الأمر حدث وأنهم قاموا بهذه العملية، فهذا سيعني بالضرورة أن هناك 1,300,000 حريدي سيقتحمون المسجد الأقصى المبارك.
شكرا لك دكتور عبد الله على هذه الإجابات. والسؤال لكم الآن.
There you go. These religious fanatics are trying to fulfill their evil prophecy here now. And they're going to bring about end times, we're told, for their evil Messiah's return. Oh, AFP. Arvar-Clan's deliberate targeting of children part of ongoing Gaza genocide. Just thought I would remind everybody with that headline out of AFP on the back of that big UN report that broke yesterday. There's literally, you say, hey, dude, you guys are genociding the kids there. Stop it. It's wrong, evil. And their reply is you're antiseptic. It's just all played out. J.D. Vance said it even, right? He said, if everything's antiseptic, nothing is. Same thing as if everything's racist, nothing is. And so they've way overplayed their hand here now. It's so tired. Apparently, it's still a bunch of idiot, brainwashed Americans that follow this BS. But know that Salem Media Group, which owns 117 radio stations here in America, is essentially a registered foreign agent broadcasting Hezbollah, Arvar-Clan propaganda over American airwaves to brainwash conservatives and evangelical Christians. Also, news coming out of Town Hall, Red State, Hot Air, and PJ Media are suspect as well under the umbrella of Salem Media Group. All right, latest headlines. Have Iran International here. Have we blown up Iran yet during America 250? Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Deal ends conflict. Open Strait of Hormuz, Trump says. Only Iran designated routes valid for Strait of Hormuz passage, IRGC says. Political prisoners held in harsh conditions. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Trump told us again. They saw it fit to put it in the headline twice. Iran must not influence Lebanon Arvar-Clan talks, U.S. lawmaker says. That's the main sticking point at this point. Iran cultural minister warns against legitimizing Trump narrative in talks. And then Al Jazeera headlines, and we'll wrap up this broadcast. On this Wednesday, 2 powerful earthquakes shake Venezuela, collapse buildings in Caracas. I guess that just happened. Maybe they can use some of that oil money. No, we stole it all. Oh. Mexico expresses full solidarity with Venezuela. Building collapses in Venezuela capital after powerful earthquake hits. Exiled opposition leader says Venezuela ill-equipped to handle disaster. Well, they get USAID. No? Oh. Well, they got enough gold. No, we stole their gold. Oh. We'll have fun rebuilding. We just leave everything in rubble, and that's the American way. And so have fun rebuilding there in Venezuela. I'm sure some Trump inside contractor will get the rebuild contract for $1 billion worth more than it actually cost, and they'll call everybody communists. You know what I mean? And so there you go. Let's hope Venezuela is not... too many Venezuelans are not hurt and injured from this latest earthquake. They're taking down some buildings. There was actually a Caribbean tsunami warning, but that's now been lifted. We're hoping a tsunami would just take out Cuba so we don't have to do a full-on boots on the ground invasion there. All right, let's go to the channels now. Let's go to the channels on this Wednesday. Take a look at Odysee channel. See if anybody is over there in the comment section. Few people over there. Shout out to the Odysee audience. Let's see. We got Huffman, John, Highland. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. John says, I did the martial art thing before it became popular. It was kind of a cult. And when you're young, the injuries heal quickly. I met what's his name, the Texas Ranger guy in the airport when I was at the internationals. Chuck Norris, right? Chuck Norris. Let's see here. You can tell Bissett is a catch. They all just, him, Hassett, Bissett, all these economic guys always go on television with a shitting grin on their face saying it's all wonderful in the golden age. And they know they're lying through their teeth and full of shit. It's just like disgusting, man. Nano is the new sales pitch, John says. I remember when everything had hexachlorophane in it until it was proven to cause cancer. It was in toothpaste, breath mints, floor cleaners, and everything else. Like asbestos is in everything, right? And so, yeah, 20 years later, yeah, it all causes cancer. Haha, you're dead. I saw a report, a headline, chemotherapy drugs are in short supply. They do that too, right? Create artificial scarcity for their chemical weapons. Aardvarks never stopped killing the Palestinians, so I would be surprised. I would be surprised if 1 million have not been murdered. We don't even know the real numbers, right? We have the fake. It's over 73,000 dead Palestinians in Gaza since October 7th, 2023. That's official numbers. We don't even know the real numbers. How many Palestinians got obliterated or still buried under the rubble? You know what I mean? So yeah, the real numbers are even worse than the official numbers, a lot worse. Let's see here. He's so proud of killing millions of goy with the miracles, which are still on the market and being promoted. Yeah. America 250, Operation Warp Speed, saved millions of lives. Sure. MAGA loves it. Huffman says, oh, I forgot to, never mind. They're chatting amongst themselves. Thank you for everyone keeping it cordial and informative over there on the Odysee channel. No missile defense system has ever worked. It's talking about, yeah. Send in one of those Russian hypersonic missiles and let's see what the latest boondoggle has produced. I hear you, John. I hear you. All right, friends, thank you for tuning in on Odysee, X, Bitchute, Substack, Kick, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Let's head over. Can we handle the trolling on the YouTube today, if any? I'll scroll about halfway up here. Shout out to everybody in the Rumble chat. I see Chloe, Fat Bob. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for tuning in, keeping that chat going. On the YouTube, Cisco says that would not have happened if they would have listened to Taco Man Trump. Oh, man. Shout out to Mac. On the YouTube, everybody go follow Mac. He's putting out reports. Let's see here. Let me pull. And we had a big report. I'm going to listen to it and try to report on it. Maybe we'll play it. I don't know how it sorts out. But Michael Hoffman has put out a public podcast there to introduce his forthcoming New History of America 250. I'm going to listen to that. I just saw it. He posted it on the Substack before I came on air. I'm going to listen to that Michael Hoffman Revelation of the Method podcast and report back to you, or go follow him on the Substack. And you could hear it right from him. Mac on the Substack. Go follow him. He's putting out Mac Crary. Go follow him on the Substack. He's putting out multiple reports daily. Back to the chat here. Shout out to Silver. Shout out to, happy birthday, Fat Bob. Happy birthday. Shout out to Denver. Al, the whole civilized world is standing by and doing nothing. God will judge in the end. Pretty sure they're lying. Denver says, yeah, pretty sure. Pretty sure. You can just say they're lying, and yeah, it's kind of their thing. I don't speak Arabic. We did have English subtitles translation for you. Red Heifer, Red Heifer. Tinfoil means no one is in control. Oh, man. We have the best listeners here at Weaponized News. They crack me up. Thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up, keeping it cordial. I didn't see many trolls on the YouTube today. I didn't check all of the comments, but Robert over there on the YouTube. Who else did we see? Oh, we did have a troll. Here you go. Seriously, dude. That's a bot. I think I saw the exact same comment yesterday. Seriously. All right, friends. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. We'll be back here on Thursday with Ruckus, hopefully, riding shotgun. Tune in tomorrow for more Weaponized News. Let's pray for peace. As always, have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you.